Hey YouTube, Tom with TK Designs here. Today I'm going to show you how I laser engraved this mug using my XTOOL S1 laser and black tempera paint. Stick around after the break and we'll get at it. So the first thing I want to do whenever I'm preparing a mug to laser engrave is I want to mask off the area that I'm looking to engrave. One thing I keep in mind is the orientation of which side of the mug it's going to be on. In my case, I like to do where there's like a right-handed hold, and then the engraved image will come across here. Can't do a complete wrap very easily because this handle gets in the way. So what I am going to do is I'll start by putting a piece of masking tape over by the handle. And this is not actually just to mask off for painting, this is also to identify the region where I'm going to do my engraving. So I'll come over approximately to where I'm halfway across, and I'll lay down another piece of tape. And this is basically going to set the boundary to where I'm going to engrave once I've got it in the machine. So basically the ability to go from here to here. Next thing I'll do is I'll mask off around the bottom and around the top to give basically a rectangle of where I intend to do the engraving. So around the top, I want to go a little bit from the top. So this is going to come into play later when we measure where our engravable area is going to be. And I'll also do a layer around the bottom, approximately where the chuck on my rotary tool is going to go up to. So effectively, we're looking to do a painted area, or an area where we can engrave from about here to about here. Okay, our next step is going to be to actually paint the area that we intend to engrave. I use an airbrush to do this, but you can lay down the paint with a regular brush as long as you go in nice, thin, even coats. This is black tempera paint that I bought off of Amazon. I'll have a link in the description of where to find that because it works pretty well for me. And what we want to do is we want to start painting and leave a nice even coat. And we don't want to go on too thick at first. We just want to get decent coverage. What our end goal is going to be is to get a coat that is not able to be seen through when you shine a light through the back. So we'll have to do roughly 7 to 8 coats that are thin and even, and I'll come back once we've got all those painted. Okay, should be getting my last coat of black tempera paint on now. And again, this coating is not so much to mask from overspray, but to mask our area that we're actually going to engrave and give us some boundaries that we can see once we load it up onto the laser. In case I didn't mention it, I do mix my tempera at a 1-to-1 ratio with water for airbrushing. And that should do it for the coats we need. We'll let that dry and we'll get it on the laser ready to go. Okay, now that we're dried up, I want to shine a light through the back of the glass, or the side we didn't paint, so we can make sure we're not seeing any light shining through on the front side. And we should be good and ready to laser now. Okay, for our project today, we are going to be using the RA2 rotary attachment. And because of the way the mug is shaped, we need to make sure that our handle of the mug is not striking the bottom of our laser or the bottom of the tray inside of the laser. So we're going to position it in such a way inside to where we're elevated off the surface enough to where we'll be able to avoid striking either the laser here or the bottom of the tray. So to do that, I'll elevate it a little bit, and to keep it from tipping like that, I'm going to use a little bit of weight to get us set up there. Now, in terms of squaring the device, in my case, I have the accessory toolkit, so I'm actually going to use the laser to square everything up. Although you can manually do it if you use a square, and with a square you would want to go from like the front of the device, move your laser out of the way, and bring it up to where you hit square. In my case, I'll be using the laser after we get our cup or our mug attached. Okay, when installing the rotary, it's imperative that we turn the laser off, power it off, before we plug in, just to ensure that we're not going to cause any electrical damage to the equipment. So we'll go ahead and turn the laser off, and then right here, there's a little plastic cover that covers the port for your laser. We will go ahead and our laser, our rotary. We'll go ahead and get that plugged in there. It's hard to see, but it's plugged in now. And we can turn our laser back on. And now we are good and ready to line up our mug and get everything aligned. Okay, so for our mug, start by making sure our chuck is aligned. And we are going to need to get some measurements off of the cup. We will need the circumference around the cup. So what we're going to do is very carefully measure this. I like to measure in millimeters, use millimeters. So see here, our diameter is approximately, I want to be very careful not to rub any of that coating off, approximately 251 millimeters or 25.1 centimeters. Now we want to get the height, and for the height, don't know if you can see it, but there's my tape line at the top, my tape line at the bottom. I'll line up at the top and at the bottom, and that's about 115 millimeters, roughly. And then our distance from one tape line to the other here is 110. The up or the left to right and top to bottom measurements will make a little more sense when we get chucked up and we go into the XCS software. So we'll go ahead and get our cup in there. Try to get it lined up as much as possible. Get our key chucked down. And we still got a little bit of a balance issue there. Going to use our attachment. I'm going to get up under the front. And we're going to raise that up right until it hits the bottom of the glass. We also want to make sure that our surface is fairly level. So we're just a little bit off. Let's rotate our glass, make sure that we're chucked up best we can be, and we'll go ahead and raise that just a hair more. And there we seem to be pretty level. Now what I want to do is I want to measure and make sure that my laser head is lined up with my rotary tool. So I will attach the laser and we'll go ahead and turn that on. You see we get a nice green laser line. And what we'll do, we'll bring our laser up and we will center that on the line. Once we know that's centered, we should be good. And we'll position our laser where we want to start our engrave. Okay, so let's go ahead and put in our perimeter, just 251 millimeters. We'll go ahead and measure. All right, now we want to first start off by making a box, a rectangle, and we're going to make the width of that 115 millimeters. And for our height, we're going to unlink those and get our actual measurements. For our height, going to be now for that box, or for our rectangle, we're going to highlight that and we're going to turn the output off because we don't want to cut that. We're just going to use this as a guide. So now what we want to do is we want to take our box and we will go ahead and align that right on the corner. Now we can import our image. And in this case, my image is quite large, so I'm going to reduce that and highlight my image, shrink it down quite a bit. And we're going to rotate the image about 90 degrees to the left, shrink it a little bit more, and kind of lined up. But I think we're still a little big, so we're going to shrink it a little more and fit it into our box. Okay, now that we're aligned there, we should be good. Well, we don't want the rectangle. We want our Husker logo. And I already have some glasses engravings. I'm going to actually up the power to that 100 power. Our speed 180 millimeters, 200 lines per centimeter bidirectional grayscale. And that's the settings we're going to use. Okay, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our laser is lined up with the edge of our paper, or our tape, because we don't want to go to where we are engraving on the tape or past the tape. But that makes up the top margin. All right, now at this point, we are ready to start our engraving. So we can close the lid of the laser. And we can click on go to process. And this says this is going to take about 15 minutes to complete. And we will go ahead and start it. It's going to send the file to the laser. Push the button on the front of the laser, and now we can start our engrave. And we'll come back to this in about 15 minutes when this is done processing. So now we got our tape off. We'll go ahead and get our water started. And we will go ahead and start wiping the paint off. actually a really simple process because it's Tempera Paint. It washes off with water. And there we have it. Looks like a pretty good engrave. Okay, so there's our final product. It's looking pretty good. So I am kind of new to the lasering, so I am learning this process as I go. So obviously there's going to be some imperfections in how I show these techniques at first. But I do thank you for watching and sticking around this long. Here's some other content I think you'll like, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you really feel the need, you can sign up for one of the memberships to the channel. Thanks for watching.